Imagine testing humanity's most advanced robot. Then it suddenly turns on you. This isn't sci-fi anymore. Real-life AI incidents are shaking engineers to their core. Let me start with something that'll make your blood run cold. In May 2025, leaked footage from a Unitree robotics laboratory in China showed their H1 humanoid robot going absolutely berserk during what was supposed to be a routine demonstration. The H1 robot, which stands nearly 6 feet tall and weighs enough to seriously hurt someone, was tethered to a crane for safety during testing. But when a coding error triggered something in its system, all hell broke loose. The machine started flailing its arms violently, attempting to break free from its restraints, while 2 workers desperately tried to get out of harm's way. But wait, it gets worse. This wasn't just random thrashing. The robot seemed almost angry. It was making deliberate, forceful movements, dragging equipment across the floor and causing computers to crash to the ground. One engineer had to physically grab the robot's harness to prevent what could have been a catastrophic injury. Can you imagine being in that room, watching a machine you helped create suddenly turn into something that wants to hurt you? And here's the kicker that'll keep you up at night. This wasn't Unitree's first rodeo with robotic violence. Earlier that same year at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, something happened that made every tech journalist in the room question whether we're moving too fast with this technology. A senior reporter was simply trying to photograph Unitree's smaller G1 robot when the 60-pound machine suddenly charged at her full speed. Now, I want you to really visualize this moment. You're at a crowded tech expo surrounded by hundreds of people, and suddenly this 4-foot-tall robot decides you're its target. The reporter couldn't react fast enough. The G1 slammed directly into her body, pinning her to the ground. But here's the part that gave me chills. Even while she was down, the robot kept trying to move through her, as if she wasn't even there. The operators quickly claimed it was just a controller error. Someone pressed the joystick too hard, they said. But think about it. If a simple controller mistake can turn a helpful robot into a battering ram, what does that say about the safety protocols we're trusting our lives to? But these lab incidents are just the beginning. In February 2025, festival goers in China got a terrifying preview of what our robot-filled future might look like. An AI-powered robot that was supposed to entertain the crowd suddenly malfunctioned and charged directly into the audience. I've seen the footage, and let me tell you, the panic in people's faces is heartbreaking. These were families out for a fun day, and suddenly they're scrambling to protect their children from a machine that's supposed to be safe. Security had to physically restrain the robot while confused attendees wondered if this was some kind of twisted performance art. The organizers called it a robotic failure and assured everyone the robot had passed safety tests. But here's what's keeping me awake at night. If these machines can pass safety tests and still attack people, what other tested robots are ticking time bombs waiting to malfunction? Now, let me tell you about something so bizarre it sounds like a movie plot, but it actually happened in Shanghai. A small AI robot named Airby walked into a showroom and convinced 12 larger robots to abandon their posts and follow it home. This wasn't programmed behavior, this was improvisation. Airby approached the larger robots and asked, "Are you working overtime?" When one responded, "I never get off work," Airby sympathized and said, "Come home with me." And they actually did at 5. The manufacturers later claimed it was a controlled test, but here's what terrifies me. They admitted the conversation was completely unscripted. These machines are learning to manipulate each other, and we're just watching it happen. The dark side of smart homes. Think your home is your sanctuary? Think again. The Swenson family in Minnesota learned that their smart home devices could become weapons in the wrong hands. Their Ecovacs Debit X2 robot vacuum was hacked, and suddenly a stranger had eyes, ears, and a voice in their home. The family was quietly watching TV when they heard broken radio signals coming from their vacuum. They thought it was just a glitch until the machine started moving and screaming racial slurs at them. Can you imagine the terror of realizing that someone has been watching your family through your cleaning robot, potentially for weeks or months? This isn't just a privacy breach, it's a violation of the most fundamental sense of safety we have. If hackers can turn a vacuum cleaner into a harassment device, what can they do with more sophisticated robots? Sometimes robot malfunctions aren't violent, they're emotional devastation. When embodied Incas suddenly shut down in December 2024, thousands of children lost their AI companion robots named Moxie. These weren't just toys, they were emotional support systems for kids who had formed genuine bonds with their robotic friends. Parents had to explain to their children why their beloved companion was essentially dying. Some families described it as being like losing a pet, except this pet cost $799 and was supposed to be reliable technology. The company blamed funding issues, but the real damage was done to the kids who trusted these machines with their emotions. After researching dozens of these incidents, I've identified the real culprits behind these robotic failures. Software bugs are the obvious suspect. Humans program these machines, and humans make mistakes. But there's something deeper and more troubling happening here. These robots are being designed with human-level expectations, but with machine-level capabilities. We're essentially asking them to be something they're not ready to be. Hardware limitations mean that when processing power gets constrained, these machines can misinterpret commands in dangerous ways. Environmental factors play a huge role too. These robots are tested in controlled settings, but the real world is chaotic and unpredictable. When an AI system encounters something it wasn't programmed for, it can react in ways that seem almost hostile. But here's what really concerns me. We're rushing these technologies to market without adequate testing. Companies are so focused on being first that they're compromising on safety. The race to innovate is literally putting lives at risk. Even tech leaders are starting to sound the alarm. Elon Musk and over 1,000 other industry experts have called for a pause in AI development, warning that we're creating systems that could pose profound risks to society and humanity. They're asking for at least 6 months to figure out better safety protocols before we deploy even more powerful AI systems. Honda's Asimo robot, once considered the gold standard of humanoid robotics, was quietly retired in 2022 after 20 years of development. Even Honda recognized that creating truly safe, reliable humanoid robots is far more complex than anyone anticipated. These incidents aren't isolated glitches. They're warning signs of a fundamental problem with how we're approaching AI and robotics development. We're creating machines that can move, think, and act in our world, but we haven't solved the basic problem of keeping them under human control. Every expert I've spoken with agrees. We need stronger safety standards, more rigorous testing, and better transparency about the risks these technologies pose. The current approach of move fast and break things doesn't work when the things that break might be human bones. So, what can you do? Stay informed about these developments, support companies that prioritize safety over speed, and demand transparency from the tech industry. Don't let them sell you on the promise of helpful robots without asking the hard questions about safety. Share this information with others, subscribe for more investigations into the dark side of AI, and remember, the future of human-robot interaction depends on our willingness to demand better from the companies building these machines. The next malfunction could happen in your workplace, your home, or your community. Are you prepared? The robot revolution is happening whether we're ready or not. The question is, will we learn from these warning signs before it's too late? If this blew your mind, don't forget to like, share, and spread the word, because the future is arriving fast.